Spenny, at the end of this, we know two things. We know where that guy is and what a
I am here and what a freaking commissary is. I hope that's where you wanted your story to go.
Well, again, this is a dumbass story. This is so dumb, but what it's leading to is an even dumber thing, which is...
I can't help thinking, somewhere in the universe, there has to be something better than man. Has to be. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ascension to 10.
All right. Back. Oh, man, I couldn't get it to stop. Just kept playing. Oh. Hey, Jack. Back. I'm really excited about this episode.
Against all odds, we're back.
Yeah. I think we had a good one last week. Now we're back for another one. We've expanded our genres, I would say, for this episode. So, looking forward to it.
Last week was, I have to say, a bit more reminiscent of our John Carter episode to me.
Yeah.
In the sense that we talked about everything.
Oh.
Hopefully we did it better than episode 2. But there's a lot to talk about, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot to get in, you know?
One thing, so you put that episode together and I watched it back. And it reminded me when we were talking about the robot with the chainsaw chode, you know?
Yeah.
It gave me a flashback to, I was first year in grad school here. Friends I met here, we went to this bar called Sportsman's most Fridays.
Sportsman.
I came to call it Crapsman's because it was pretty crappy, but it was a nice
Sounds on
place.
brand.
And one Friday, like any other, we were sitting there drinking and stuff and eating, and this guy wanders in. I would say past middle age, so maybe somewhere between 50 and 60. And we were laughing about something, and he just sits down at our table. And
yeah,
keep in mind, this bar was always busy on Fridays, right?
Yeah.
And so we happen to have an empty chair, and this guy just sits down. And we said, "Hi, you know, what's up?"
Yeah.
And he sat down mid laugh, you know, in the middle of us laughing. And he was laughing too, like he was part of the joke. And he said, "Hi, how are you?" "Who are you?" And he was saying that he was down from, I don't know, some other suburb, and just strolled in, and we were like, just another day, right? You know, just cool.
Just hanging. Just guy shows up,
and I can't remember how the conversation exactly went, but at one point he pulled out, he showed us his hand, the back of his hand, and there was just a cut, an open cut.
A real wound?
A gaping wound that was oozing and stuff.
Okay.
And we said, "Oh, are you okay? Do you need help?" You know, thanks for showing us. I don't know, but are you okay? And he
Battle
said,
scar.
"Yeah, I got myself good today on a chainsaw." I was trimming a branch and blip, blip, got me on my hand. We said,
on the back of his hand?
Yeah, right. And we said, "Oh, that sounds really dangerous. a miracle you didn't lose the hand, right? I would think that chainsaws have some mass to them, right? And I think that if you would get it in the path of your hand, on some kind of downward arc, it would carry enough momentum to do a little bit more than just a kind of little cut.
Right. Like your whole hand would be cut off.
Yeah, it would be gone.
I mean,
not
if a chainsaw's going and it hits your hand, it's probably gone.
Probably gone, right? And he said, no, blip, got me. And then he was like moving the goo around on his hand, and he then proceeded to.
It's like the pre-scab. He was just moving around pre-scab.
He then took it and moved it around the lip of an empty glass.
And this guy is sitting at your table?
Yes. And, and then we were just like, this is strange enough to begin with, but what's going on here now? And he just proceeded to tell us a story about how his wife left him or something, and then he's been on the road ever since. And somehow he never mentioned how he got hold of a chainsaw or what that was for, other than the fact that it blipped his hand. And so at one point during all this,
fucking blipped it. Blipped your hand with a chainsaw.
The wait staff came and took the empty glasses, and whoever it was walked away with them. And I got up and followed her, and I said, listen, you're going to want to destroy that glass, like that glass in your right hand. Just throw it away. Don't ask why. Just throw it away. It's not worth trying to clean. Because that was the glass that he put his open wound ooze on.
Gross.
It's like, don't ask why. Just throw it away, please. Yeah. So she did. And then, my goodness, he was there for a long time. And at the end of it, he was, it's like saying how hungry he was. And so we ended up buying him a burger and stuff, but man, it was bizarre. The whole interaction.
Is there something about you that just characters gravitate towards you?
I think so. Right. Yeah. Just everywhere I go, it's just, I have a field of,
like this guy, I feel safe with this guy. He keeps me safe.
Yeah. I can tell him about my hand blip. And, so anyway,
I remember
the chainsaw chode reminded me of that.
Chainsaw. The chainsaw reminds me of our friend Derek or Wooters. He was always the one. For some reason, I think we were chopping up wood for one of our fuckapaloozas or a camp night or something. So Woot was the one in charge of chainsawing all the logs.
Yeah. He was doing a shirtless or something, right?
Yeah. I was like, I think my dad bought a chainsaw, and I don't think we even had used it yet. And then we had Woot come over because Woot had used a chainsaw, and so he was just going to town, out in the woods, shirtless, chopping
Farmer Fran style, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, anyways, Spenny, okay, I have a story that's not funny, but it's been on my mind.
Oh boy.
I don't know where this is going to go, and I might just cut this segment because I don't know, but I've been thinking about it, and I got to share my thoughts.
Is this like a Oregon Trail kind of story? We're all going to die of diphtheria or something at the end? Dysentery? Okay.
It's a two-parter because the second part's a typical day. Mine are a typical day. The first part is just something that it's just been sticking with me for no reason. Okay. The other day, normally I bring my lunch to work. Earlier this week, or today I did. And so I went to the commissary to go, get something to eat.
Do they still call them commissaries?
Cafeteria? I don't know. Food building.
Sorry, go ahead.
Food center.
Food court.
Food court.
At work.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay. I was walking there. It's kind of a ways away from where I work. I was walking there, and along the way, I was head down into my phone. I was reading something and pretty much in my own world. And it's a busy place where I work, right? A lot of people around.
Your AirPods in?
No.
Oh, okay.
My earpads.
AirPods.
I didn't have my earpads.
Yeah, your AirPads.
and I was walking down a hall, and I would say that I have, pretty good awareness, pretty good peripheral vision, right?
Sure.
For if I'm, head in my phone, I know enough about what's around me that it's fine, right?
Pretty good sonar.
And I look up every once in a while to make sure that, project where I'm going to go, forecast what I need to walk around, right? Pretty common stuff.
Yeah.
Walking down a hall, wasn't too busy, and head down on my phone, and I hear this, I'm right here. And I look up because how if somebody's talking to you that you don't know, but you hear it projected to you, you get the sense that someone's talking to you, right? Even though you don't know and you didn't expect it, right? And I hear this, I'm right here. And I look up, and sure enough, there was a guy standing there, but he was about 12 feet away. And I said, "Oh, sorry, excuse me." He said, "No problem." And that's simple enough. 3 words, right? And, but I just couldn't stop thinking about why he said those 3 words.
I'm right here.
I'm right here. Because it's a very declarative sentence, right? It's a very declarative thing to say.
Yeah.
It's relating his position in space relative to me. And that's fine. But is that really what most people would say in that situation? Because it implies that I know who he is. He says I, right?
Yeah.
As if I knew who he was. And there's multiple ways to say that, right? He could have said, I'm right here, or I'm right here. Or he could do multiple emphasis and say, I'm right here, which would maybe be what I would, if I were to see those words written down in that situation, I would think that's the way somebody should say that. I'm right here.
I'm right here. Yeah.
All indignant and stuff like, hey, look out, man. I'm right here.
Yeah.
But I was 12 feet away. There was plenty of time for me to, on my own accord, walk around him. Right. So he was preemptively, is almost like a courteous, he was being courteous to me by giving me a heads up so that I wouldn't run into him and feel bad about it.
Well, yeah, so this guy was not on his phone.
No, he was standing.
Fully just standing or walking?
No, he was just standing there. And he had a visitor pass on. So he was, it's the complicated building where I'm at. And so visitors they're not just milling around, right? They have specific areas to go to, and it's kind of complicated for them to get to those places sometimes. And so, okay, that interaction happened 2 seconds at most, right? I'm right here. Sorry, excuse me, no problem. But I just could not stop thinking about why he said that. Now, and I'm not saying I was offended. I was just, what was the thought process for him to say those 3 words? Because I think in most situations, if you were going to say something, maybe you'd say heads up, or hey, excuse me, or you're about to run into me, or something like that. I'm right here. And he said it almost as flat as possible where there was no emphasis.
When you said he was 12 feet away?
Yeah.
So it was like
plenty of space for me to notice him, right?
So this was like the steamroller in Austin Powers and Will Ferrell's is screaming.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
And then he had this kind of smug face on it when he said, no problem. Like, I just did a good deed today, no problem, bud. And he was older, right? He was, in his, I don't know, 50s or 60s. And it was one of those things where I think most middle-aged men, their biggest fear is to not be wise, right? Or to not appear wise. It's a calling for middle-aged men to arrive at a place in life where they have wisdom. And this guy was using every ounce of that perceived wisdom by warning me that he was right there.
Yeah.
But why say it like that? Again, what he could have said was, I'm right here.
Right.
You know, like, hey, buddy, gee whiz, I'm right here, man. You know, as if I was about to be running into him. But he said, I'm right here. And
it's one of those interesting things where you, after the interaction, it sounds like it's just been festering with you because you can't figure out why someone would have that kind of reaction or prompt to you. Yeah.
That's the thing. It seemed like it was just a natural reaction for him to say, but what I've been wondering is, why is that really what you would naturally say if someone was going to run into you? I'm right here. I don't know, because again, it's very personal with the use of I, the way he declared it. So I couldn't stop thinking about it. It's like just all the gears in my head were turning about this insignificant phrase,
here.
Right? Like,
I'm right here.
Where are we all at the end of the day? We know where he is. He's right there.
All right, are you having a butterfly effect moment right now? Is that
maybe? It's like the world is crashing around me as I perseverate on thinking about why he said I'm right here.
You're right.
Maybe that's the only constant in this world, is that guy is right there.
Right there. Well, I mean, did he leave? Did he move? Or was he still there and you walked by?
No, he stood his ground. He was like a statue, right?
Oh my gosh.
Okay. That interaction happened for 2 seconds of time.
Yeah.
I continue to walk to the commissary and
the commissary. Is the commissary, is that a normal thing, or is that something like military? Like, I'm going to the commissary.
I don't know.
Okay. Now you have me overthinking commissary because
commissary.
Isn't it? If you're at work, you don't go to a commissary, you go to a cafeteria or a cafe or a food court or a restaurant or commissary.
Wait, is that even the right word?
Yeah, I think it is. But what is a commissary?
Defense Commissary Agency. What is that like? Is that the overarching?
Okay. Well, a commissary
cop.
A commissary. What is this? The definition on Google says a commissary is a restaurant in a movie studio, military base, prison, or other institution.
Okay. Commissary is a store for provisions, which can include prepared foods for eating either on premise or off premise. This is like the definition of what I'm going to, right?
Okay, fine. Whatever.
It's an on premise area to buy provisions or prepared food.
I'm glad that doesn't have to linger for a long time. Now we know what a commissary is.
We know, Spenny, at the end of this, we know two things. We know where that guy is and what a commissary.
I am here and what a freaking commissary is. I hope that's where you wanted your story to go.
Well, again, this is a dumbass story. This is so dumb. But what it's leading to is an even dumber thing, which is, just can't stop thinking about this. Like 99% of my cognitive ability is funneled into this problem that I've encountered, right?
You just have to go home after going to the commissary.
And yet I'm on my way to the commissary and I had no plans for what I wanted, but I walk in flooded with choices.
You're
and
like,
I go to, sandwich grill wrap place. And I just, we're trying to do, we're not in a fat face challenge right now, but we're both trying to do some, as best we can with stuff. Sure. And so I order a spinach wrap with chicken and tomatoes and lettuce, no dressing.
Ooh, bold.
And she said, "Do you want this toasted?" And I said, "No, thanks." Because it takes a while, and I wanted to go because I'm thinking about this thing.
Right.
So
wrap that cold ass tortilla and let's get out of here.
Yep, wrap it up. So I get back to now it's like all what are the comments here and back, and now I'm sitting at my desk and I'm about to bite into this thing, all the while thinking about I'm right here.
Yeah,
and I bite in, and the chicken is frozen, and snap out of it right away. It's like, wow, come to reality. And then I start thinking, why is this frozen? Why would this be frozen? Oh, it's because I didn't get it toasted. But why should I have to get it toasted to be able to eat this? And if that's the case, why have it be an option? Right?
Yeah.
Why have it be an option?
That doesn't make any sense. Because the chicken was probably came from a bin or something that was like pre-made so they can make the wraps, right? Like made in front of you, like a sandwich wrap shop.
Exactly. At no point did they say or even suggest that, look, you're going to want this toasted. Believe
so they basically got chicken from the back of the fridge closest to the cooling element, froze it, took it out. Probably put a spoon and stirred it up. Didn't realize it was frozen. Yep. Half of it's frozen. And then Jad.
Or I don't know. It's like that could have been, or it could just be normally frozen or something, or heavily refrigerated. And so again, why have it be an option to get toasted if they're going to serve frozen chicken? Why the fuck is?
Like, I don't know.
Just have it say, we're going to toast it now.
This is literally this is a new magnet story. This is just great. Love it so much.
Anyways, that's it.
That's it. Did you eat it? Did you microwave it? Did you throw it away?
No, I just ate it because it's like fucking.
You just ate frozen chicken. Okay, sure.
It's like the guy is over there, and I got this thing now that I got.
Because you don't want to walk by him again because he's already there.
He's already there.
I mean, did you see him on the way back, or did you go a different route around?
I had to go a different route.
Dang,
and
that could have changed the perspective.
Well,
maybe the wrap would have heated up when you walked by.
That's the thing, man. It's like Donald Rumsfeld said, right? There's known knowns and there's known unknowns. And at this point in my life, I had a known known. I knew where that guy was, right?
Yeah.
I did not want to cross over into an known unknown, which is I know where he was, but do I still know where he is? And I decided that I needed to leave it as if I wanted no new information to affect what I knew.
Right. Wow.
You know what I mean?
compelling and rich. Right.
So anyways, that was just another Tuesday of my life.
Just, when you were talking about being on your phone with your head down back in like 2011, 2012, it was, I think the iPhones and smartphones had really taken off. Yeah. And like local news was the big thing, was like showing videos of people on their phones and like falling or tripping over stuff. Right. And one of the local news was outside our office building, like watching people as they were on their phones. And I walk out and I'm on my phone. And I remember they stopped me because I had my head down and like, oh, like, what are you doing on your phone while you're walking? And it's, I had a Samsung Droid phone at that time. And I was just, the only thing they did, they interviewed me. They videoed me scrolling up and down on my phone with my fingers. No way. And the only thing they kept in there, they didn't keep anything of the interview, but they just showed my fingers scrolling up and down on the ESPN radio app as I was scrolling up and down between stations. So
Oh my God. We
made
gotta
the
find
news that
man.
night. Yeah. I mean,
That's
I made the
amazing.
news. My hand made the news while some other lady was walking across the street and fell because she tripped over the curb. So that's my addition to
That's
your story.
awesome. Man, you're on
There
the
was nothing
freaking news,
deep
man.
or existential about the situation like yours, though.
That's awesome. I didn't know about
amazing.
any of that. We got to try and find that footage.
I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. I think it was Fox News, Fox 4.
Well, that
Sorry,
reminds
can't
me
see.
of, do you remember when Kelo, Kelo, would do the, or maybe it was Kiss, I don't know. This is a long time ago, but they would do the backyard weather forecasts.
No.
And it had, there was some kind of drawing or entry prize. It was in combination, or what do you call that? Collaboration with Subway, because it was this prize that you would win. Subway would provide you remember party subs where
Heck
bring
yeah,
out,
man. 6-foot party sub.
like a 40-foot sub on a piece of wood. And so anyways,
Gosh,
somehow
that's memories, man.
my family won that thing once.
What?
Yeah.
You want a party sub in a backyard?
Weather forecast
Broadcast?
The news van showed up and they had their, huge ass antenna because they were broadcasting from our backyard, and then it was this giant fucking party sub.
Probably that they knew you were a Nielsen family, so they probably had to.
Right. That's how it got
sonar
in,
on
because they were just, direct port to our data and stuff. What I remember was, I don't think we ever watched that news channel though.
Well, then how did you get entered?
I have no idea what the circumstances were, but we won a party sub and we won a backyard broadcast.
And I'm just thinking, like, you basically didn't have internet, so so you could have entered online or anyway. So it would have been like some sort of call in or mail in.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. It was easily, I think it was most definitely a write-in.
Okay.
Somehow we won. And
Have
maybe
we
won
talked
because
about
nobody
your
would do it.
dial-up, by the way?
I don't think so.
I think so. Jad's family always had dial-up internet, and like Jad's family had dial-up internet till what, like 2006?
Later than that.
Later than that?
Sure. I think
Like they basically forced them off. They're like, literally, we cannot support dial-up internet anymore. Please stop.
Family. They're the last family, and it required this whole infrastructure that they wanted to phase out, right? So they forced them off of it. Yes.
What was it? I mean, the second you guys got they got real internet, didn't Mark start playing video games with you? Wasn't that kind of like once the internet kicked up, and then it was
maybe
Dakota Dog or whatever?
Dakota One Dog, yeah.
Dakota One Dog.
Yeah. That was okay. It must have been in college then.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but either way, we're talking
2008,
mid 2000s, right? Mid to late 2000s.
I mean, DSL, DSL. Is that what it was called?
There's something like DSL and then T1 and T2.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Those are all these.
But
tiers.
DSL came out in like 2000.
Oh yeah. Because it was the internet and then still just the single phone line, right? So it was one phone line into the house.
I mean, we were like 8 years old when dial-up came out, and like AOL and all that. Probably not even 6, whatever it was, but amazing.
Yep.
It's
We would do
amazing.
MSN chats,
And
MSN
AIM.
Messenger, right?
MSN Messenger and AIM. Yep. That's when BRB came out. LOL wasn't popular yet, but we had BRB. Got G2G. Got to go.
Night, bro.
Nice. All right.
Well, yeah, that was.
We went some places with that one, Jad.
Yeah.
Thanks for the journey. That was great.
These are just Tuesdays of my life, man.
Requiem for a Tuesday. Right?
Was that a saying that we would that we would do?
No, that's for
Requiem
Parks
for
and
just
Rec.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
His claymation, stop motion. Stop in a place where you live. I thought it was a lot longer than that.
Oh.
All right.
Right.
Speaking of great films, this week we did Velocipastor. This was a recommendation from a coworker of mine, Chris. So thank you, Chris, for the recommendation. Man, I feel like this really opened up a new genre for us. I mean,
well, I tell you what it did for me is heavily encouraged me to recompile the autobiography of Miles Davis, upload it so that we can review that movie, because this is basically the same thing. I mean, basically the same caliber.
I gotta say, so this film, The Velocipastor, is based off of a adaptation from a 2010 trailer by the director, and it was made for film school. So he made this kind of trailer about this pastor that turns into a velociraptor. And Brendan Steer is the director and writer of this, and basically decided, let's make this a full-length film, and got people together to do it. It was like, the reports vary from like how much the actual movie cost. There's 11,000 up to 35,000. So either way, not a big budget. But one of the other things is, after they filmed it and developed the film, they put it in an oven at 200 degrees for 10 minutes so it looked aged. So that's how they got that look. So when you watch it, you're like, oh, this looks kind of like an older film, right?
Wow. Wait, so they made it on film?
Yeah.
What?
Made it on film. Also, the Velocipastor costume was used in Brendan's, had been sitting in Brendan's basement. It was used for a high school play.
Okay.
But
that tracks.
Yeah. But I guess for the school play, the principal wouldn't let him use it because it was too violent looking. But it made it for Velocipastor.
Nice. So hopefully that was free then. That just wasn't part of the budget, because it was just.
I hope so.
Around, right?
Or write it off. Yeah. I mean.
So Spenny, okay. So watching this movie, it made me think that, well, clearly we could make a movie. Number one, we already have, right? The autobiography of Miles Davis. We've already made a movie. Right. But it really solidified the fact that we could do this, right? No, easily we could do this. We could write a script.
I mean, I think
and then we could do it. But here's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think we could make a movie.
We could make a movie, but here's the thing.
No problem.
You mentioned $11,000 to $40,000 is a small budget, but can you imagine us spending $40,000 to make a movie to put on YouTube for a bit?
Do you think we could do it?
I know we could do it. That's the thing. Like, I know we could do it, but if we
film it in a week.
Yeah, but if it took $40,000 to do this, even $11,000 is a ton of money, right?
Well, just think of the equipment we'd have to rent. It would probably cost $40,000. Unless you want to do it on iPhones. We could do it on iPhones.
We could do it on iPhones. Yeah, exactly. But it's just the thought of that.
The autobiography of Miles Davis reboot.
Because that we had a budget of $0, right? Or whatever it was to the cost.
I mean, how much?
Tape,
how much were the 8-track films?
I don't know, film. So I guess our budget was maybe $13 for the tape we recorded on, and then $8 for the tape that I edited.
You know what happened? We had a movie, like we had a premiere for this film. Like, where did all the money go? I thought we charged like 50 cents.
I know, right? I don't. Who took the money?
Oh,
I think,
okay. Right? Well, that answers that question.
Exactly. We could have invested that and had $3 by now with interest.
Yeah.
But anyways, just the idea of us making a movie, which I have never been more confident in the ability to do something, is to make a movie like this. But the idea of spending 11 grand just to do it. Anyways, all right, let's get into it. First of all, it's called Velocipastor.
Yeah. The Velocipastor.
It's about a priest that turns into a T-Rex.
Well, the costume, yes, is a T-Rex, but I think the intention was that it was a velociraptor. Also, there is he is a priest, but there is a scene where his colleague or mentor, Stuart, walks out, and it's a United Methodist church that he walks out of. So there's a little, they took some liberties, shall we say. But you had to, they worked with what they had. So
yeah, I mean, 11th grand only gets you so far, right?
Yeah, but I mean, so like the first 3 minutes of this film, or I don't know, minute and a half, like it just sucks you in, because it's this Pastor Doug in the pulpit. He's reading scripture. He says amen. There's a response, and it is one person that says amen. It is a church of one. It's probably Stuart, right? It literally was one person saying amen. And it's amazing. And after that, he just this is just the first part of this film. He says amen. One person goes amen, and then he walks out, and it's like this like happy music, right? And then he just looks over across the street. His mom and dad are standing in front of an escort wagon, son, waving their hands.
Hi,
and
son.
And then he's like, hi. And then it just cuts. It just cuts and says,
VFX,
car on fire. And it cuts back to the car, and there's no car there. It just says VFX, car on fire. And then you cut back to Doug crying and just totally mortified. Like he just watched his parents explode across the street from a church, and they were just standing in front of it.
And then it goes like the second line or the third line of the movie. It's Stuart, the mentor, consoling Doug on a pew, and he says, his first line says, "Your parents died on you. It's what parents do. They just die." He goes,
here,
all right.
Drink more wine.
Drink more. Yeah, he's like drunk off the communion wine, right? And,
you know what you need to do? You need to travel.
He says, "Where would I go? Wherever you think God isn't." Okay. So he goes to China. Apparently a godless country, right?
But when he's doing this consoling and they're like talking about this travel, so the screen has like a side-by-side of each character's face. It's straight on, but in the middle is actually the scene, and it's the exact same face.
Yeah, it's
so
like
they are using
too.
They're using 3 different cameras for one scene. Like,
yeah, it's supposed to look all artsy and stuff, right? And it totally makes sense that it's like what you would see in film school, probably, with people trying to get fancy with their editing and stuff and composition.
Sure.
But the fact that it's just, you see all 3 perspectives simultaneously, which dilutes everything, right? It makes you not focus on any one thing.
Right. You're like, who, which one, which one, which one?
It doesn't matter because they're all there, right?
And they're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same.
So, okay. So that's now the title card starts, right? And it's a driving montage of him driving around. And it's
driving around in a Chevelle.
It's so clearly him in a garage with someone in the back just kind of like swinging a light bulb around to give the effect of, the sun moving as he's driving for so long.
Yeah.
But he's in almost pitch black, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yet everything on the green screen behind him is just daylight, and he's
full brightness.
Black. Yeah. And at one point, there's so many cuts, right? There's cuts of him front on from the side, doing this, doing this. And then at one point you see him for half a second, half a frame even, you see him doing this. Like he's backing up. Like he gets somewhere and then he's backing up into the forest. And then it's just the next frame is him just going down the road again. So he backs up for a little bit and then he keeps going. And then he's in China.
And
he's wandering around clearly a North American forest, right? And he's has a compass or something, and his first line in China is China is east.
China is east. Yeah.
And then ninjas show up and
ninja shows up. A girl walks in and she gets shot with an arrow, and she's talking in Chinese, and he's like, I can't understand you. And then she just, it's clear English, just says, destroy it or they will hunt you forever, and hands him a claw.
Just a claw or a velociraptor
or something.
And he cuts himself and he stumbles back because he cuts himself, but then he goes out of frame and you can clearly see the light box just like in the shot, because the camera person, or he didn't go where he was supposed to, or the camera person didn't go where they were supposed to, and it's just like the set
one take
basically right there.
I think this was shot with one take.
Clearly
would be my guess.
Yeah.
Which no fault. I totally get it.
I think we may have all Raggedy Ann in one take, probably. Right?
Oh yeah, probably.
That's just professionalism, right?
Yeah. But after that, then we'll start skipping around after this, but then you meet Carol, and she's walking down the street, and some crazy homeless guy is like, you are born an angel, I know it. And she says, thank you. And then she walks over to her pimp and she says, I'm lit up right, hot to trot. Where do you want me, daddy-o? And then he just responds, Carol, hello, bitch slap.
But it was with the wrong hand that then cut to, I think, right?
Yeah.
Because he used his right hand, but then when they did the cut, it was his left hand doing the follow through, right?
Hey,
what was his name? Freddie Mermaid?
Frankie Mermaid. Yeah. He said, "Why?" One of the lines says, "Why is my name Frankie Mermaid?" And she says, "'Cause you're swimming in bitches. You're goddamn right." Okay, so he starts yelling obscenities. During this scene, a school had just gotten out, so there's a bunch of students walking around, and one of his lines with all these people walking around is, "Yo, Jerry, if you stuffed your dick with your Yo, Jerry, if you stuffed dicks in your mouth like it's that sandwich, I'd be a fucking millionaire by now." It's awesome. But yeah, I guess there was a school had just gotten out or something, and they were yelling all these obscenities, and I think it kind of took some kids by surprise.
Wow. So Doug wakes up, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, he wakes up and he's back in his church, and
Stewart's
in, right?
Stu.
And he's had a bad dream or something, and he goes, "Was it China again?" And he said, "Yeah." And Stewart says, "What did that Chinese say?" I don't know if that's offensive or not, but it's just so.
I don't know
if it's offensive. I'm sorry. I just don't know. It's just like clearly not correct grammar, right?
But I'm just yeah. We're just gonna take this at entertainment level because
what did that Chinese say? So Doug stumbles around or something, and he has an episode and turns into his T-Rex for the first time. Yeah. He's out in a. Carol's supposed to go to the park because that's where all the customers are going to be, and Doug stumbles around. He's out there too, and she gets mugged, or she's going to get mugged, and then Doug shows up, turns into the dinosaur, and it was very strange because there's clearly scenes where the guy's on the ground yelling and stuff, but then he just stands up,
kind of has some scratches on his face,
and then he kills him. But then now you're seeing Carol look on. So everything's happening off camera, and you're looking at Carol looking at whatever's happening. And then at one point they just throw a dummy head as if it's, the head ripped off, but it's clearly like an Area 51 alien.
Yeah.
Gigantic bug eyes.
Yeah.
And okay, so then it's the next day or whatever. So she shows him, Doug wakes up in her apartment, and she shows him what he did. And they're back in the park now. And she says, come over here and look at this, right? And she kind of brushes off some leaves. And for a split second, you see what they're supposed to show or suggest is an arm, but it's just a branch. It's just a tree branch that kind of looks not brown, right? It's like half a millisecond of a frame, and he's like, oh.
There was a lot of millisecond frames, like cuts. Like we probably missed a lot of them, but later on, there's a part where it's like a montage, and all of a sudden it's literally just the whole film cut in millisecond splices. It's like from beginning to end,
beginning to that point, and then back to the beginning, and then back to that particular point in the narrative. And it's a training montage of him in the gym lifting weight. First of all, Doug is jacked, right?
Yeah, he is. Doug's not messing around.
And so, but basically, he decides that. Carol says, look, you have this a gift. I'm not afraid of it. You can do a lot of good in this world, more good than you're doing by just being a priest. And Doug's like, no, I don't want to sin or whatever. That's not me. I abhor violence. And then he, I don't know why, but he decides to be, okay, let's do it. It's because he runs away, goes to confessional, and
Frankie Mermaid Frankie Mermaid shows up and basically just does a play-by-play of how he killed Doug's parents by blowing him up. And then it cuts to showing Frankie Mermaid, who's standing on the curb just being like doing a weird dance as they get blown up.
Hiding behind a tree that's 2 inches thick, right?
Yeah.
And, he's basically just confesses to murder and all this other stuff because it's fun and people hire him to do it or whatever. And so Doug freaks out and he turns into the dinosaur again, or half dinosaur, just dinosaur claws, and kills him.
Dinosaur claws.
So then he goes back to Carol and says, let's do it. And then it's a training montage. Keep in mind, his ability is to turn into a dinosaur, right? And then it's a training montage of him lifting weights and stuff.
A montage of him doing weights, killing people, and teaching the prostitute Carol the Bible. That was the montage. Those were the three elements of it. And it just goes on for like a minute and a half of that. Yep. And then it moves to this forest again. And
this is China, right?
This is I guess it's in China. Yeah. And they're like, all these ninjas, and they're like, why have the shipment stopped? And they're like, well, the Dragon Warrior is back. And they deal cocaine. So we have ninjas dealing cocaine, and there's this white kid that is part of this group who we find out is Doug's brother. And I don't even. He's standing next to this old this Chinese guy that kind of plays this like main leader of these ninjas who deals coke. and there's a scene where like the Chinese guy just makes it like laughs. He goes ha 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 ha, and then the brother just goes ha 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 ha.
It was okay. So I thought this
like
was awesome.
mimicking it.
I thought that was awesome because it was very much like what you were saying earlier, an Austin Powers type thing, right? Where it's, Dr. Evil laugh, and all the henchmen do this evil laugh too, right? To mock all the James Bond villains that do that seriously. And what I thought was so funny about this was at one point they kept doing it, right? These two guys kept doing it. But at one point, I think the director said, just keep doing it. And they actually started laughing. Did you see that at one point? The older guy was actually laughing during it.
How could you not? If you're both just sitting there fake laughing, just going, eventually you'd buckle.
So the other point is that they keep saying they're from China and that they're Chinese, but ninjas are Japanese, or traditionally from Japan, right?
Yeah,
and then at one point, one of the ninjas is Australian, or he has an Australian accent. So they basically say, okay, we got to take out the dinosaur guy, right? The dragon guy.
Yeah. But then it switches over really to kind of like Father Stewart's story and like how he became a pastor. Because he's really concerned about Doug, and he doesn't like that he's with this Carol girl. And then Father Stewart is just kind of like reminiscing on, what he was, what he did. And it kind of, Stewart takes him to get an exorcism first.
Yeah.
Because he can't do an exorcism. He's going to a place that's not a church to get an exorcism.
Well, I think it was because he's taking Doug to get an exorcism from an excommunicated priest who now does exorcisms. That's all he does. And this guy looks to be Doug's age. Right? Yeah. Father Stewart's older, right?
Yeah, but 50s, 60s. He was in Vietnam, right? So
then does a flashback of the reason that he had to go to this exorcist as well. So, and it was because he was fighting in the Vietnam War. And then there's this whole scene where his friend got shot, right? And then
Ollie.
And then he's doing this all for, or he's wanting the war to finish so he can get back home to his wife or girlfriend.
Yeah.
And at one point, these two people are standing by a tree, and he takes off his helmet, and pulls out a picture of his girlfriend, and hands it over. So the scene is Stewart is on the right side of this other guy, and then it does this cut to two people handing the picture back and forth, but the picture is coming from the left, and it's also from a black guy. And there were no black people in this scene.
No.
And then so it's like, oh, she's beautiful, right? And then he immediately dies. He's back.
Well, yeah, this is
the base.
Yeah, he's like this Ollie guy is like, yeah, I want you to name me after name your first son after me, Ollie, because I never took a shot.
Yep.
And then he gets just
immediately dies. And then they're back at the base. They're back at the camp, and
they're still in Vietnam, right?
They're in Vietnam, and then all of a sudden, his girlfriend comes running through the forest. and she 2 millimeters in front of Stewart kicks a trip mine, right? Yeah. And she explodes, and it's just a cut where she's there one moment, and then she's gone, and somebody dumping a huge bucket of blood on it.
He just stands there.
She's in Vietnam. He's standing in front of a landmine, right? At their base. And then the medics come over and said, I don't know if we can do anything for her. She might be a goner.
I don't think we're going to be able to bring her back. There was nothing to bring back. She's literally gone. She had exploded. The only thing left was blood on his face. Like, holy cow.
So then it's back in real time. We're at the exorcism. And so, okay, this priest comes out. His name is Doug Jones. He's Father Jones.
Father Jones.
Doug refers to this exorcist as Father Jones. And I don't know if that was just a misread or
Probably.
or whatever, but for some reason he has elf ears. And he does this seance and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he turns into a T-Rex and kills Father Stewart.
He just hits him. He knocks his eye out or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Runs off, whatever.
Yeah.
But then this is where he goes back to he goes to Carol's apartment to hide.
Yeah,
and he's hiding himself under newspapers in her bedroom. And the second she comes in, it's just like all these newspapers go flying.
It's a piece of newspaper.
It literally looks like where she had her puppy taking its whizzes, and then he's just
and then all of a sudden some ninjas come through, or they can fall asleep or something, right? And then some ninjas flip through the window, and then they just kind of like, they basically do the equivalent of like flicking them in the forehead, and they all die, right?
Well, they became like super warriors. How did Doug and Carol all of a sudden become like super
it's the
fighters?
Montage, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
It's all the weights.
Yeah, but they just lifted weights.
Yeah. And so it was basically what we described last week in Robot Jocks with it just looked like kids just kind of like playing around.
That's true. The choreographing was
so
difficult.
Somehow they find out where this Chinese base is. I don't know how, right? They just know where it is.
He said someone told us, and I was like, no one even talked to you.
There was no lines, right?
Like there's a part where like he has this weird voiceover, and he says, "Good thing the ninja gave us the hideout coordinates before he died."
Yeah. Which are there's China or something, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Father Stewart wakes up, has an eye patch, and he's in a tent with this head hunchman ninja guy.
Yeah.
And basically finds out the whole story about this. There's a St. Artemis school of ninjas that exists, and enrollment numbers are dwindling. So the solution is to get people addicted to super hyper addictive cocaine, and they'll join their group so they can take over the world by using Christianity.
Somehow, I was kind of doing. I was kind of multitasking at this point in the movie, and I really couldn't understand where this was going or what the purpose of all this was. But
that was amazing.
But then they just kill Stewart immediately, right?
Just at
one point, I don't know at what point, Doug has a flashback to his parents and stuff, and it's all good times because they all love each other, right? And at one point, they're so supportive of him, and the dad says, "You're my only son. I love you." And then they're in the car as a family, and they said, "Are you sure you want to be a priest? It's whatever you want to do. It's just as long as you're sure." And he said, "I'm sure." Okay, well, we're going to drive around the block. We'll pick you up after priest college. And meanwhile, the whole time, there's another brother that's the same age practically, and he's just outside of frame every single time. And it's like he's hearing his dad say to Doug, "You're my only son," and then all this other stuff. And so he becomes extremely disgruntled, right? And it joins this St. Artemis Chinese ninja group to get back at Doug. And then there's this final battle, and it's the brothers face off, and the other kid pulls out this sword and says, I will kill you with the sword of my ancestors. Right. And like nothing happens. And then Doug says, wait, well, that's my ancestors also because we're brothers. Right. And he like kills him with it. But he points the sword almost directly vertically down. But then you see the sword is like in his chest, right?
It doesn't. It's I
don't know. And then he T-Rexes and a lot of there's a all the ninjas die. Carol's off doing her own battle, but then
Carol's just standing in the background, like has her fists up, like she's ready to fight.
Kicking ass,
And
right?
Yeah, like nothing happening, and then all of a sudden another ninja just comes over and cuts her chest.
Just kills her immediately. Just
Looks like she's dead. She starts gushing blood out of her mouth, despite the fact she just has a gash across her chest.
Yeah.
Like it didn't internally puncture her, but she's still.
But anyways, and then it's like he T-Rexes out, and because he's so mad, and then
this is where the epic dino suit really comes into its element, because he's basically just fighting all these ninjas and tearing them apart. And then the head Chinese ninja guy shoots an arrow at Doug, and all of a sudden he stops becoming the dino.
And that was another like
poison or something
scene where like they just spliced to the scene with him as a dino and then without a dino, and they kind of like did that, and then he was Doug again.
Yeah. But he apparently he still has his hand, so somehow it doesn't affect his hand, whatever poison or whatever, so he can't be a dinosaur. But then he grabs this Chinese guy's head, which obviously it's like he grabs the guy's head, and then all of a sudden it's just this giant mannequin head,
blood,
and he just rips it off, and then it's just
like someone with a ketchup bottle just onto his face, and it's just so clearly like the most racist looking mannequin, Asian looking mannequin head.
It is,
right?
You got the Fu Manchu and bushy.
And then I don't know. There's the movie ends, right?
This is the best part. So apparently Carol's not dead. He takes her to the hospital, which she had literally just died in the grass. And this doctor comes in, and he's like, he walks over to Doug and he's like, "We did it. She's gonna make it." And he comes to sit down next to Doug and have a cigarette, and he has this band with, what is that thing? And
it's like a mirror.
Like a mirror, and it just starts falling over his face. He can't see, like it's in his eyes as he's sitting down.
He's kind of starting to laugh too. You can see him start to grin and stuff.
Right.
Again, it's just one.
She's
take,
fine.
Right? She's fine. And then it cuts to Carol in the room, and I'm really curious how they managed to film in what is clearly a clinic room, right? It had the clinic bed and everything.
Yeah.
They must have known somebody that they could film after hours, right? In this clinic room or this exam room, because she's just sitting there. But again, she's just sitting upright on this bed.
Yeah. Totally. Like,
and
not like she's been on, like dying. Like she's just hanging out, probably watching TV.
"I'm fine." And then a text graphic shows up that says she's fine. And then
she's
I don't know, the
fine.
movie's end. He's out of the priesthood now and is basically just going to hunt down.
He smokes, he wears leather jackets, and he has $1 billion bounty on his head. And that's how it ends. Then you're like, okay.
Nice. I got to say, Spenny, this is pretty enjoyable.
I agree too. And it was only an hour and 10 minutes.
That's the thing, right?
Right.
It's basically only 60 minutes of content, right? With the credits and stuff.
Don't you feel like that's how long these movies should be?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
There was literally no fluff at all.
No, like it was just, let's get down to brass tacks. Let's knock this out. We've got a plot. We're gonna add in some elements to kind of confuse you. And there's gonna be this dinosaur that is a T-Rex, but it's actually a velociraptor. We have a pastor who actually works at a United Methodist Church. We've got a prostitute that's learning the Bible. It's like,
yep,
man,
all this stuff. So. It's at the point in the show
this is
where we give
the
ratings.
Ascension to 10 podcast, and we rate on 11-point scale. 10 being the greatest thing we've ever seen, and Ascension being the worst thing. Jad, I'm giving this a 5.6. It's right on that level of just, I enjoyed it.
Well, I gave this a 7.7.
Wow. Damn.
I liked it, man.
It was fun.
To put that in perspective, for Spenny,
it's right around Bright and
Yep.
Fifth Element.
Fifth Element. Yep. This is my highest non-Severance, non-Top Gun Maverick rating, behind Predator.
I will say that, Prey. I would say like it's like I was smiling the whole time I was watching this film. Like they was so enjoyable. I know it was like over the top, but they also were not taking them seriously. They knew what they were doing with it. You know, the budget was low, so they're gonna add some elements of humor. The VFX to start this film just that just I just couldn't stop laughing, like, because it was so funny. Just like how they did it. It was awesome. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I'll pick you up after priest college. I mean, it's, they didn't bother to find out what seminary school is called, right? There was no attempt to find out what that is.
Right. The Frankie Mermaid character. Yeah. I mean, man, I really enjoyed that. That was
so awesome. Thank you to your coworker.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yep. Thank you.
Recommending
awesome.
That was good.
It was good.
So I think it's my turn to pick. And so we're going to go back in time.
Okay.
It's been a while since we've done a 70s, 80s style. And there's something that's been on my mind for a while that I haven't seen. I've never seen this, but it's a part of most, I don't know, pop culture-ish. I have no idea if it's we can dunk on it or not, but we're going to watch Highlander.
Oh, man. I've definitely seen this. It's been a long time. 1986.
Wow.
Because that has, that Christopher Lambert. We know him from Mortal Kombat, but
okay, nice.
I think my dad and I used to watch Highlander the series. Okay, there used to be a TV series, but I can't remember if it's good or not. Well, sweet. Look forward to it.
We'll see. Maybe we'll do In the Name of the King at some point as well.
In the Name of the King. Yeah, we might have to just maybe we'll just do that ourselves.
Yep.
Tired of waiting for him.
Sorry, Bryan.
So maybe that won't come up, or we'll do Highlander, or both. We'll find out.
Or eventually we'll do both, no matter what.
Yeah, we will do both. Yep.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Well, thanks for listening. He's Jad. I'm Spenny. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to Ascension to 10.